going to take you through some books. Part of why Americans are so fluent about nutrition is the efficiency of the American publishing industry. This is about 60 books, which is probably less than 10% of the number of books that are out there about nutrition. And so it's easy to see how the average person would be very confused about what really makes sense. This is one of the first books that was ever about holistic nutrition, surviving into the 21st century. This came out in the 60s or 70s. I'll bet he never thought we'd ever make it to the 21st century. But he was the initiator of the raw foods movement. This is Victor Kolvinkas, who's still around today doing talks about his work. Next, we have Anne Ligmore speaking about wheatgrass juice. Still to this day, very effective. Many people do that. I was just actually recently speaking to a physician whose father has cancer, but he's a holistic physician. And I was thinking to myself, and he's a good friend of mine, and I was thinking, how could I help him and his father? And I knew he already knew everything there was to know. And so I had to really think it through. And I said, well, what about wheatgrass juice? And he's like, that would really help him. And it's kind of this last minute, very strong medicine, that, especially fresh wheatgrass, that can help people. Next, I want to talk about a range of books related to spirituality, being very deep inside people's hearts and soul. And so the publishing industry picked up on that. Nutrition people picked up on it and began to deliver titles related to spirituality. This is The Maker's Diet by someone who was born Jewish, switched over to Christianity, and really developed a name for himself. His name is Jordan Rubin, because he was sick and couldn't figure out a way to get himself well. And once he figured it out, shared it with the world. When I studied with Michio Kushi, realizing that America is primarily a Christian country, and one of the ways he wanted to reach people was through this book, Jesus' Teachings of the Eternal Truth. Gospel of Peace. How many of you think you may be interested to work in spiritual communities? You have access to that group? Hands up higher so I can really get a sense. Yeah. Okay. The whole team there. Being able to if you are doing that, working in a spiritual community, you want to ask people, do you feel like this food has a spiritual content to it? And help people see that there are foods that will enhance the spiritual practice of the community or of the individual. Dr. Ben Lerner wrote Body by God. There's a book called Judaism and Vegetarianism, kind of talking about the part in the beginning of the Bible about God wasn't sure which diet people should go on. This is called If Buddha Came to Dinner, What Would Buddha Eat? Next, Dr. Gabriel Cousens, also a very early raw foods person, wrote the book Spiritual Diet, comparing all the different. Isn't it odd that spiritual traditions almost always have dietary recommendations? And so he compared the different practices, and today has a thriving community. This book got reprinted into this one, Spiritual Nutrition. He is leading edge in terms of what heals people, and centered on the raw foods diet as being the best way to heal people. Next, Dr. Will Tuttle wrote a book called The World Peace Diet, Eating for Spiritual Health and Social Harmony. Most of the world that lives just basically surviving. And so this book is about finding a diet that enhances and creates increased world peace. What would Jesus eat? Is he going to pull into a fast food place? I don't think so. But a lot of people want to live their life as Jesus. What would Jesus do? And so asking that in a religious community, would Jesus be happy with what we're serving in the church today? Very helpful question in any religious community. It's one of my most interesting books. It's called God's Diet. I appreciate this person. It's a physician, a short and simple way to eat naturally, lose weight, and live a healthier life. And this is a real testimony to books that worked for the individual, and then they think that that way will help everybody. So in here, the introduction says, Dr. McNamee is a medical doctor who tried every diet that she could find to control the weight gains that had plagued her whole life. And she recommends avoiding artificial ingredients you can't pronounce and doing what God recommended. If you can't pick it, pluck it, pull it from the earth, or scale it, don't eat it. And then in the book, she goes further into that, and she has lists of food you can have. She says, if it wasn't around 10 to 15,000 years ago, you probably shouldn't be eating it. And then she recommends things like apples, apricots, asparagus. This is in alphabetical order. Broccoli, cantaloupe, celery, duck. And then foods you can't have. Alcohol, bagels. At that point, I put the book down. Cake, cookies, sugar, tortillas. And then she has this swing list. Now, there are foods I'm sure you noticed were not on either list. These foods I put on the swing list. These are foods that are not recommended when you're being a purist. These are foods that you should use only rarely, and we'll talk a little more about this. Why these foods are not good, but also not totally bad. Artificial sweeteners, diet Jell-O, Marie's blue cheese dressing, shredded wheat. Can you see that this is her diet that she figured out for herself? And so I share this with you because you will find yourself having idiosyncrasies of what worked for you and doesn't work for you. But I want to tell you now to be careful about not putting that onto your clients, your children. People figure it out on their own. Now we get into the real stuff. The publishing industry. This is the no willpower diet. You think this was a bestseller? Yes. Who wouldn't want to go on the no willpower diet? After that came out, there was another book called the I Love New York Diet. Then that was successful, so they came out with the I Love America Diet. This is a more recent book on the same genre, The Cheater's Diet. you start to see how publishing works. They're not trying to figure out which diet is the best diet. They're sitting in their room thinking, I wonder what title will sell. An old classic was cabbage soup diet. There was a point in time when thousands, maybe millions of people were living on cabbage soup. At a certain point, the publishing industry realized that book stopped selling, but it was a great classic, so they brought it out again. This was called the ultimate cabbage diet. Cabbage soup diet. $10 million copies later, we have Dr. Atkins, the GI glycemic index diet. A lot of people get carried away with this because they're like, oh, that's sweet, I shouldn't have it. And so many people would stop eating carrots and apples and fruits and vegetables because they were high glycemic. Suddenly, they were bad. Then we have a series of books about color in food. Tricolor diet. Basically is saying eat foods with a lot of color because they have phytonutrients in it. What color is your diet? Eat your colors. Color code. Are you having fun? Can you see how people could get confused? There really is a book called The Peanut Butter Diet. The same author wrote this book. This was so successful, she went further with it. The ice cream diet basically says dairy is good for you. Ice cream is mostly dairy, so go for it. And just try to have low-fat ice cream. With the popularity of the Pilates came out this book, The Abs Diet. And part of the abs diet is also your waist inches more than your weight. Sometimes doing exercise will strengthen you, and if you're be very careful because your client's trying to lose weight, what you want to be doing is measuring their waist as a way for them to feel like they're making progress. Having just come from Los Angeles, there is the LA Shape Diet. And basically they're using the Los Angeles, like this came out after the South Beach diet. So people in South Beach look good, I'll go on their diet. And then to kind of copy it, they came out with a Los Angeles diet, which never became very popular. This is the eat more, weigh less, because when you're eating foods that are low in calorie density, then you can eat as much as you want. As a matter of fact, the more you eat, the more you can lose weight. Eat right for your type. I imagine most of you are A blood type. If you're A blood type, make some noise. O blood type? Okay, that's a lot of people. Just to make sure we cover everyone, B blood type? AB? Oh, okay. So this is the beginning of bio-individuality. They begin speaking about different foods for different blood type, which is very, very helpful. Not having a one-size-fits-all way of eating. This came out directed to women. a revolutionary plan to lift your libido and bring you to orgasm. The publishing industry is becoming more daring. But, this also begins to, you can see, when I say that integrated nutrition is the future of nutrition, I find that the publishing and the whole nutrition field moves into the realms of what we're talking about here. This book talks about using fish oil as a supplement and the importance of primary food, intimacy, and relationship in being healthy. This one is Ultra Metabolism. Dr. David Katz wrote the Flavor Point Diet. One is called Biochemical Individuality, which really got me started about that kind of languaging, and volumetrics. So the publishing industry has picked up on that. And this book came out called The 100-Day Diet. Whatever you've done your whole life, in 100 days we're going to fix that up and you're going to be fine. This is a book, it's actually by one of our graduates. It's called, her name is Teresa K. Abba Kennedy. And she went to Harvard, she came to our school. She's really making a big difference in the world. And her book is called 40 Days to Power Living. So which diet would you go on, the 100-day diet or the 40-day diet?
40.
So they picked up on this idea that, forget the 100 days, we'll go with the briefer duration. So after that came this one, the Wine and Food Lovers Diet, 28 days to being healthy. Very popular, Martha's Vineyard juicing diet. Lose 21 pounds in 21 days. Lose weight, have more energy, be happier in how many days? I'm showing you all this because you want to, your clients, when they're coming to see you for the initial health history, may be, as a result of the publishing industry, delusional.